Welcome to Jackson Reviews, the channel where I go through the best and worst horror movies so you don't have to. I'm Sam Jackson. Today we're going to be going through Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. After the kind of negatively received Friday the 13th A New Beginning, which surprisingly has a fan base, please stop yelling at me and disliking my video. The producer of the series decided to resurrect Jason because it'd just be so much easier than continuing this copycat idea, which, as once again, to defend my last video, I did state I liked the idea, just not the execution. The fact Jason wasn't in it does not change my opinion on the movie. This film also ends up capping off the Tommy Jarvis trilogy, and it does it in a pretty awesome fashion, whilst also introducing the brand new series which would come from this. The film turned Jason from just a crazy killer with a few mental problems into a full-scale, like, supernatural psychopath, and it was done so awesomely. Like, this movie is easily top 3. Like, it's just so cool. He has extreme strength, agility, he can deflect bullets, basically. Bullets don't affect him at all. He can also possibly teleport. Anyone who says that he can't teleport, there's so many scenes in this where he can, and I will point them out. I will defend Friday the 13th. Jason Takes Manhattan for that teleporting scene, because it happens in this film too. Stop yelling at Part 8, please. The film was also a massive far cry from the 5 previous installments and went for a lot more comedic route, but honestly, it still kind of kept the horror enough for it to be good. Even with like extra action sequences and a lot more lighter tone, it was still a horror movie at heart, and I think that's one of the reasons why this film is so good. Which, to be fair, is something that the next movie would completely scrap, going for a much more psychological and dark route with weird psychic powers, because that's what happens when you've got to the 7th installment of a horror franchise. But with all that out of the way, let's review Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. The movie begins a few months after the previous film, with Tommy and his new driver friend on their way to Jason's grave to make sure he's dead, and hey, is that Pam's truck? Guess she didn't die after all. Goofy and cheesy things then occur, and Jason's body is brought back from the dead, because why not? Tommy's wannabe sidekick then has his heart ripped out by a new superhuman Jason, and just, oh, that's so fucking badass. It's so fucking gory, and like, oh, this is awesome already. After Jason finished showing his badass abilities, with a weird gross zombie face, Tommy decides to run away and have a fun little parody skit before Tommy goes to the police station and is arrested for sounding crazy. When Tommy becomes Crazy Ralph, you know this series is going for an interesting new take. Oh, and Tommy's played by a new actor, Tom Matthews from Return of the Living Dead. I will get into those films eventually if you like them, because I like the original 3, and I will eventually go through them, I promise. New camp counselors find a sad Jason, which gets a lot of really funny lines I quote way too often.
Darren, we better turn around.
Why?
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Darren gets stabbed and thrown skyward, as Jason's new strength is like put 100% on show. His girlfriend Liz, or fiance Liz, I'm not sure, don't yell at me in the comments again, tries to bribe him, but Jason remembers he used to be a teacher and he teaches her to save her money. We also get the first bit of evidence that Jason can teleport. I will continue defending Part 8. We then get the usual introduction to all the boring— wait, what the fuck? These are boring counsellors. They're fun and interesting characters. This includes Sissy, Cor, and Paula as this film's victims. See how I actually mentioned their names this time? We also get to meet the sheriff's daughter, Megan, who totally wants to burn Tommy. Tommy in return does a weird Crazy Ralph and starts ranting about Jason, as a paintball group is slaughtered by Jason with some very funny kills. The smiley face one is still funny in my opinion. I know it's very controversial to say, but I laughed a lot the first time I saw that, and I still have a little bit of a kick from it too. At the camp now called Forest Green, we actually get some kids at the camp. Well done, Friday the 13th Jason Lives, you've done a very, very simple idea. But to be fair, they're mostly here just for more weird jokes.
Does he think I'm a farthead?
Tommy's then escorted out of town by the sheriff, but Tommy decides to head over to Jason's grave in a cool car chase, but finds it reburied. Tommy is then kicked out properly, as Jason decides to teach the gravedigger that alcohol really does kill, and slashes his throat with the bottle, as well as double impaling an engaged couple, because hey, this movie needs more kills, and since the last one was able to just drag in so many random characters to die, this one can do it too. We then get some random scenes showing off a child actor and how legendary Jason has become before the tamest sex scene in horror movie history ever. Compare this to the one in the previous film. This later ends up with Kurt's girlfriend Nikki getting her face slammed up and crushed against the wall of the RV in a very awesome and, I mean, imagine gory way. Like, you can't see the actual gore, but I'm just imagining how gruesome that must be on the other side of that. Jason, though, isn't particularly a fan of Kurt's music taste, so he decides to jam a knife into his ear so he won't have to listen to it anymore. Then we get another awesome action sequence where the RV crashes and Jason stands on top of the RV whilst it burns. Look at how cool this is! Jason then decides to visit his old campgrounds, as Tommy and Megan decide to work together to finally stop him. Jason does the usual slasher affair and kills the rest of the victim characters. First he has a head twisted off in badass ways, then decides to paint one of the cabins, except he's got no paint, but that's okay. Paul helps him out, at least that's what I think that meant, right? We then get another cool car chase, and Tommy's arrested for all the murders when the sheriff takes some of his guys to Camp Forest Green to see if Tommy's been there. Honestly, I like this film because it's realistic, even though it's absolutely not at the same time. Like, obviously, if they know Jason's dead, they're not gonna be like, oh shit, Jason's back, like they did in the previous film. This one uses a lot more logic behind it, like obviously it's a psycho who keeps going around saying he's back. If it was based in real life, and the actors and characters, they're still portrayed like it's set in real life, and I think that's a very interesting part of this film. Megan then helps Tommy escape, and we get some really good bad acting.
Megan.
The two head back to camp to fight Jason, where we get some pretty great scenes. 3 cops die really quickly. One with a throwing knife, one with a head crush, much better than part 3's. And finally, after he puts a badass fight, nothing else needs to be said here except he's cool. Jason decides to continue renovating the camp, similar with the cabin earlier, and decides to turn the sheriff into a makeshift chair. Clever idea, Jason. I'm not going to use that though, I'm afraid. Tommy and Megan finally decide to deal with Jason by trapping him at the bottom of the lake. We also get a cool scene where you can literally see Jason remembering Tommy and completely ignores an easy to kill target. It's so cool! He remembers Tommy, even though he's gone like through 2 actors since the last time we saw him, but hey, continuity. The plan seems to go well until Tommy is pulled under as well, where Megan has to go and save him by cutting off in Jason's face with a fucking boat motor. Jesus Christ! That gore is just like 100% out of 10. Like, Tommy is then saved again by Megan when she performs CPR on him, and the two walk away in victory, with the final shot showing Jason's not really dead because money. And that's it. Friday the 13th Jason Lives was released with both no final girl run and no nudity. The first of a series, but does it actually hold up as much as everyone says? The simple answer is yes. The actual production of the film is very high quality, especially for a film that had like a $2.5 million budget. The car chase sequences are all shot great and they look cool and interesting. All the characters are well fleshed out, even like just for cannon fodder, and at least for nice characters. I was actually kind of sad when I originally saw this film and Sissy was killed, because I quite liked her character. She seemed sweet and nice, and it's some of that most slasher movies, even like awesome ones which I love, such as a few of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, they don't flesh out the characters enough so you don't care. Even though this one doesn't exactly give them 10 pages worth of backstory, at least it makes them nice and interesting enough so you're sad when they die. I will state though that similar to the last movie with stuff like the paintball people and the engaged couple, there are some characters which are forced in just to die. And I know before people yell at me that the engaged couple were literally added just to die after audience members said that they wanted a few more kills. But just to me it feels a lot more forced and not as organic as the rest of the film, and it does slightly take away a little bit from the very interesting and fun film that you're watching. With all that said though, the rest of the kills, and in fact even the double impalement, they're all awesome. With this film you could tell that they acknowledged the 2 best kills from part 5 being like the head getting crushed, stabbing through the eyes. Like, they were awesome as hell. When they made this, you could tell that they took a lot more influence on those kind of kills than just for shitty close-ups. And to me, that is a massively great step, and something that the next film would also kind of take, although a lot of the scenes were sadly cut down before they could be as badass as this one. I also have to congratulate this film a lot, because similar with the previous film and the next one, especially the next one, the MPAA really tore these films apart. A good example of this is the film My Bloody Valentine, where an entire 9 minutes of gory footage were cut just because the MPAA said no. Granted, 3 of those minutes have now been returned to certain versions, and they're awesome as hell, but with a lot of the Friday movies, the footage was either just not shot because the MPAA would just instantly say no, or they instantly got rid of it, meaning that we're never really going to find it. Which is a problem for the next movie especially, because apparently there was a lot shot that were cut and it's just never been found since, which is a shame. When it comes to this film though, the gore is great, the characters are great, the direction is great, the writing is awesome, the way they brought back Jason, and they knew they couldn't make it a serious dark horror movie with that kind of stuff, so they made it comedic and more action-packed, and to me, that was the best way to do it, because if they tried to make it another dark and grungy, like pure slasher horror movie, it'd just be stupid, and I'm pretty sure this film would end up being a little bit similar to like a few of the later entries and part 5, not as well loved by the overall fan base, and kind of ridiculed for that. For the fun facts this time, we have a good few bonuses because I honestly love this movie that much. This is the first film where Jason was shown to be like a supernatural zombie, something which continued until the 2009 reboot. and is even kind of been used in all the versions of Jason in the game, even the ones that aren't zombified. The film could also be quoted as like an influence for Scream with its self-referential humour, especially with the part with Liz at the beginning with the guy with the hockey mask. Tom McLoughlin was basically given free rein with this film from the studio because they knew how much their control damaged the last couple, and he just went all out of it, although a few of his ideas were shot down by the studio, aka all his alternative endings. This is the first film in the whole franchise not to have any nudity at all. Originally, during the sex scene with Kurt's girlfriend, the actress was meant to be topless, and Tom McLoughlin didn't fully agree with it, but he did have to ask the actress because the producers told him to, and she just outright refused, which he was very happy with her decision. So yeah, it's a good Friday and it doesn't have to have tits in it. Overall, a total of 4 endings were planned, with 3 of them apparently being filmed, but only 1 of them being actually shown. One of these endings that wasn't shot at all would have shown Jason's dad Elias finally coming into the mix, a character who's not in any of the films but appears in the extended universe. Another one had Jason's mask floating to the top of the lake to pretty much show that he's gone again, although apparently Paramount didn't like this because it cut off all possibilities of a sequel, which is something that they struggled with in the past. The third one was the deputy who was locked in the jail cell earlier on in the film, well, towards the end. Apparently he was going to see an unknown figure heading towards him, and the film had cut there, leaving it kind of ambitious. And the fourth one was boom, where Jason's eye open saying, hey, sequel. One of the bonus facts is that in the Friday the 13th video game for these Tommy tapes which have been released, Tommy can be heard explaining that he didn't kill Pam or hurt her at all, and that's why her truck appears at the beginning of the film. Basically, it was another dream sequence within a dream sequence within a dream sequence, which is just way too many dream sequences, like, to not be Inception. Bonus fun fact, the song He's Back for Man Behind the Mask by Alice Cooper, the lead song of this movie, was the first single brought out by Alice Cooper after his weird mental breakdown in 1984 with the album Dada. Also kind of leading into the most badass part of Alice Cooper's career, just saying. Now the part where I honestly say my opinion on the film. I fucking love it. There's not many movies which I would go out of my way to directly watch over and over again, but with this film it's so easy to do because it's just really enjoyable. It's very self-aware, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but then it'll take itself seriously at important moments, such as the grand finale fight with Jason versus Tommy, because if it did that too jokingly, it would have been a bit shit for the previous two, but if it did it too seriously, it just would have come across as really out of touch with the rest of the film. So the fact that we're able to mix both these genres so well is what I enjoy so much about this film. Also, just the acting, the casting, the fact this film is so fucking weird, and it's a sixth entry in a long-running like slasher franchise, and it's still good to watch. Overall, this movie is my 3rd or 4th favourite in the whole franchise. I will eventually do a ranking video, and it will be my own personal taste, so if people don't like it, I'm sorry, but it is high up because it's enjoyable, it's dark, it's funny, it's weird as fuck. They have so many just little inside jokes, such as the editing joke, such as the referential, I've seen enough people in horror movies wearing masks and all that stuff, and just, this movie's great, and I would honestly recommend it to anyone even if they don't like the slasher genre, just because similar to Scream, it dissects the genre so much, it's enjoyable without being too pretentious. Anyway, that was my review of Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. If you did enjoy this, please be sure to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.